These are the Moai. They are an important part of Easter Island and the Rapa Nui people. They are the symbol of this island.
For centuries, they stood silent, massive stone faces gazing out to sea. But what if those statues weren't watching the ocean? What if they were guarding something beneath it? In early 2025, a team of researchers turned next-gen AI scanners on the Moai of Easter Island. What they found shook the scientific community and sparked global panic online. Sealed chambers, carvings never seen before, subsurface vaults that were deliberately hidden for over 1,000 years. These weren't just sculptures, they were part of something much bigger and maybe much darker. Because the truth is, we didn't just uncover statues. We may have uncovered a message from the past, buried under tons of volcanic rock, meant to stay hidden. You've seen them before. Giant stone heads, scattered across grassy hills on a remote island in the Pacific. For decades, that's all most people thought they were. Just heads, carved by an ancient civilization, staring blankly into the distance. But that's the illusion. In reality, these heads are only the tip of something far larger and far more mysterious. Excavations as far back as the 1950s hinted at it. But it wasn't until recent digs, aided by precision scanning technology, that the truth came into focus. The Moai are full-bodied statues. Many stretch over 30 feet tall, with torsos, arms, and inscriptions buried deep beneath the surface. Why were they buried? How were they built? And perhaps most chilling of all, what else is buried with them? For years, archaeologists had theories, most involving tribal honor, religious symbolism, or ancestor worship. And for a while, those ideas made sense. Until 2025. That's when a team of international researchers scanned the statues using a suite of cutting-edge AI tools. It wasn't just about revealing stone. It was about uncovering the decisions of a lost civilization, hidden beneath centuries of soil and silence. And that's when the Moai started talking back. The scanning began quietly. No grand expedition, no dramatic unveiling. Just a team of researchers, drones in the sky, and machines on the ground. But within days, the data started coming in. And that's when everything changed. Using ground-penetrating radar, LIDAR drones, and AI-driven imaging software, the team created digital models of what lay beneath the Moai. They expected soil, maybe stone. What they got was history no one was ready for. Not only were the statues full-bodied, but they were also deliberately buried, as if someone wanted them hidden. Some were standing on platforms of carved stone. Others had torso markings that didn't match any known Polynesian patterns. These weren't just functional statues. They were designed to be seen from below the surface, by someone who would eventually dig them up. But the real shock came from the voids. Beneath several of the Moai, the scans picked up chamber-like spaces, some large enough to stand in. Perfectly shaped, sealed tight, empty. Or maybe not. Could they be tombs? Ritual sites, storage rooms? Or something more deliberate? The AI flagged the anomalies instantly. Patterns that didn't match nature and didn't match anything we've ever seen on Easter Island before. And buried deep beneath one statue, a formation that stopped the team cold. A staircase, one that appeared to lead downward into darkness. Patterns it identified. Build suspense around the unknown and how quickly the machines saw what humans missed. The tech wasn't just advanced, it was something out of a sci-fi movie. Researchers combined drone-mounted LIDAR, ground-penetrating radar, and multispectral imaging to scan every inch of terrain around the Moai. But raw data isn't the breakthrough. It's what the AI did with it. The system, trained on thousands of ancient site scans and geological models, wasn't just looking for shapes, it was hunting patterns. Within hours, it flagged dozens of Moai statues with signs of subsurface anomalies, places where the soil density was off, or where symmetrical shapes hinted at human construction. One model showed a sealed void beneath a statue, a nearly perfect rectangular chamber. Another showed what looked like curved etchings on the buried portions of a statue's back, completely invisible above ground. Then it got weirder. The AI began linking formations across the island, showing a network of underground features that didn't seem random. They were aligned. Some followed the coastline, others formed what looked like a spiral or constellation when mapped. And in one chilling case, a buried chamber matched the dimensions and orientation of a known Rapa Nui ceremonial site, but it had never been excavated. What was under there? No one knew. But the AI's models left one thing clear. These weren't accidents. Something had been designed and buried on purpose. The AI's findings weren't just digital blips. They led to real structures, buried beneath the Moai for over 1,000 years. Beneath at least 7 statues, researchers confirmed the existence of man-made chambers, hollowed-out rooms, perfectly geometric in shape. Some had walls lined with smooth slabs of volcanic stone. Others had patterns carved directly into the chamber floor, spirals, grids, and strange, almost mathematical shapes. Then came the carvings. Using multispectral imaging, the AI picked up symbols on the buried torsos of several statues, invisible to the naked eye after centuries underground. Some resembled Polynesian petroglyphs. Others looked completely alien, symbols repeated across different statues on different parts of the island. A pattern, a message, or maybe a warning. One chamber had something even stranger, a raised platform at the center, surrounded by stone rings. Some believe it was an altar. Others think it was a burial site for a high-ranking figure, or something else entirely. The Moai weren't placed randomly. Many sit directly above these chambers, almost like they were planted there to stand guard. And when researchers tried to model what the site might have looked like before the burial, they found something spine-chilling. The layout of certain statues mirrored celestial alignments, like they were tracking the stars. Or maybe timing something. Not all the carvings were abstract. One, in particular, stood out. A lone Moai, located far from the main clusters, bore a deeply worn symbol on its torso, uncovered only through layered scan reconstruction. The image showed a towering wave, curling over a human-like figure, arms outstretched. Surrounding it, symbols no one could translate, but they repeated across multiple sites, often near coastal statues. Some researchers saw the obvious. It looked like a tsunami. Was this a warning, a memory etched into stone, or something still to come? Across the Pacific, oral histories have long told of massive waves, floods that reshaped islands, and ancestors lost to the sea. Now, those myths had a possible match, carved into the very statues we thought were silent. One team overlaid the Moai's locations with historical tsunami impact zones. The results? Too aligned to ignore. Several of the statues seemed placed along natural fault lines, impact points where seismic waves would hit hardest. Were the Moai markers? Ancient warnings from a people who'd survived catastrophe and didn't want us to forget? Or were they predictors, tied to cycles we still don't understand? And if so, what exactly were they warning us about? The findings raised more than just eyebrows. They sparked theories, some grounded in archaeology, others that felt like pages from a horror novel. The first was simple and chilling. that the Moai weren't just memorials. They were warnings, placed at disaster points, their carvings telling of floods, fire, and burial. Not as history, but as precaution. Think ancient warning signs. But that wasn't the only theory. One growing idea, the guardianship hypothesis, that each Moai was intentionally placed over a sealed chamber to protect or contain what lay beneath. That's where the containment theory emerges. It's darker. It suggests the Rapa Nui may have believed they were trapping something underground. Not a metaphor, not superstition, something real. Researchers point to the effort. Massive statues carved and moved across volcanic terrain, then planted directly above chambers that were intentionally sealed. Dr. Helena Cruz, a lead researcher from the University of Chile, said it best. These chambers didn't collapse. They were closed, carefully, permanently. Some believe they were tombs for powerful figures. Others think the Moai were part of a ritual complex designed not to celebrate the dead, but to keep something else at rest. Could it have been a myth? Could it have been real? Or could it be that the Rapa Nui knew something that we've completely forgotten? It didn't take long. Once word of the scans leaked, the internet imploded. Within hours, hashtags like Moai Secrets, #Ancient Warning, and #Buried Truth were trending worldwide. TikTok flooded with edits, slow drone footage of the statues overlaid with ominous synth music and text like, "What did they bury? And why?" YouTube exploded with uploads from every corner of the mystery niche. Are the Moai guarding a sealed evil? Moai statues decoded. Humanity was warned. Is Easter Island hiding a global flood prophecy? One video claiming the statues were guarding a gateway to the underworld racked up 30 million views in 2 days. Reddit went full detective mode. Armchair archaeologists and digital sleuths cross-referenced Moai locations with global seismic zones, ancient flood myths, even Atlantean lore. Some users noticed a recurring symbol in the scans, one that looked eerily similar to Sumerian flood carvings. Others compared it to early Mesopotamian glyphs or even Mesoamerican disaster warnings. And then there were the memes. When you realize the heads were just the beginning. Moai, the original apocalypse preppers. You versus the ancient evil she told you not to worry about. Even brands jumped in. A major streaming service fast-tracked a documentary. A sci-fi author announced a thriller set entirely on Easter Island. Everyone had a theory. Everyone wanted answers. But one question loomed louder than the rest. Should we have left them buried? While the internet spiraled into theory mode, not everyone was celebrating. On Easter Island itself, known as Rapa Nui, the mood was different. The indigenous Rapa Nui community, descendants of the very people who carved the Moai, watched the global frenzy with growing concern. To them, these statues aren't puzzles. They're ancestors, sacred, spiritual, and the idea of probing beneath them with machines and algorithms. It raised deep, uncomfortable questions. Some elders warned that the sealed chambers were never meant to be opened, that their burial was part of a sacred duty, not a mystery waiting to be solved. The Rapa Nui Council of Elders released a statement urging caution, calling for researchers to consult cultural leaders before moving forward with any excavation. These are not relics, one member said. They are guardians of our spirit, our past, and our land. Even scientists started to wrestle with a difficult question. Just because we can uncover something, should we? The power of AI is undeniable. It can see things humans can't, process millions of data points, detect patterns buried under centuries of silence. But what it can't do is feel. It doesn't know reverence, or fear, or respect. And that's the line we now find ourselves standing on, between discovery and desecration, between curiosity and consequences. The Moai have stood for over 800 years, silent, weathered, watching. Now, with the help of artificial intelligence, they're speaking again, not with words, but with warnings. Symbols carved into stone, chambers sealed with purpose, a wave frozen in rock, crashing over time itself. Maybe they were memorials, maybe they were calendars, maybe they were locks. But one thing is clear. The people who built them knew something we forgot. And with every scan, every discovery, every chamber we consider opening, we're not just digging into the past. We're unearthing a choice. Keep going, or stop before we find what we were never supposed to.